If he says this one thing, psychology confirms it's a manipulation tactic. And once you hear it, you'll realize he was never serious. There's a kind of language that player men like to use. You need to understand why this kind of language works so well on people. Their words can bypass logic and go straight to emotion. That's why, when someone wants to keep you hooked without giving you what you deserve, they'll rarely show their hand through actions alone. They'll choose the right phrases to make you question yourself. And the more emotional the language feels, the more your brain attaches meaning to it, even if the meaning isn't real. This is why the very first thing we need to talk about is the hidden power words have, and how they quietly shape the way you see him, the relationship, and even yourself. When you see how manipulative language can work like a lever on your emotions, it becomes clear why some men lean on words far more than actions when they want to keep you in their orbit. So, why words matter more than you think? When people talk about manipulation, they often think of obvious behaviors, lies, cheating, or dramatic actions. Yet, in relationships, the most effective form of control usually comes through words. A single sentence, repeated at the right time, can be more powerful than any visible action. It can set the tone for how you think, how you feel, and even how you act without you realizing it. Men who are playing you know this. They use emotionally loaded phrases that bypass your reasoning and instead trigger your emotional response. These phrases are designed to create hope, keep you attached, and make you second-guess whether your feelings are valid. By doing this, they make it harder for you to walk away, even when your instincts tell you something is off. Psychologists call this a language loop, a cycle where the same kinds of words and meanings are used again and again to reinforce the manipulator's position. You're not just hearing a phrase once, you're hearing it at key moments when your emotions are high. Over time, those words become a signal that shapes how you respond to them, often without you realizing it. Now let's look at what do these phrases actually sound like. And once you can recognize them, you'll start hearing them for what they really are, instead of what they're trying to make you feel. These are the phrase that screams he's playing you. The most common one is, "I'm just not ready for anything serious, but I still want you around." This sounds harmless at first, maybe even honest. However, when you look closer, it's one of the clearest manipulation patterns you can encounter. It's a breadcrumb phrase. It gives you just enough emotional connection to stay invested, but not enough commitment to make it secure. The reason this phrase is so powerful is that it blends rejection with attachment in the same breath. It closes the door to a real future while opening the door to your time, your attention, and your emotional energy. By keeping the situation undefined, he controls the pace and the direction without promising anything. Psychology labels this intermittent reinforcement. It's the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive. You never know when you'll get the payoff, so you keep showing up for the chance that maybe this time it will be different. And just like with gambling, the uncertainty itself becomes the hook. Sometimes he'll say, "I don't deserve someone like you." At first, it feels like a compliment. It sounds as if he's placing you on a pedestal, acknowledging your value. Yet, beneath that surface, it's a way of shifting the dynamic so you feel compelled to reassure him, to prove that he's good enough, and to keep giving without expecting anything solid in return. It's a quiet form of avoidance. Instead of showing up in the way you need, he frames himself as unworthy, which lets him escape the responsibility of stepping into a real, committed role. Then there's the line, "You know I care about you, right?" This often comes out when you start pressing for answers or clarity. The tone can be soft, even comforting, but the function is to soothe you just enough to ease the tension of the moment, without actually addressing the issue. It gives a quick hit of reassurance while leaving the real questions unanswered, keeping the situation exactly where it is. Over time, these moments stack up, leaving you emotionally invested in words that never translate into consistent action. When you start hearing lines like that more than seeing real action, the effect builds quietly. Each time, it plants a seed of doubt while also giving you just enough warmth to keep holding on. Without realizing it, you start living in the space between what's being said and what's actually happening. And that's exactly where the real trap is. And it's the trap you fall into when you hear it. Most people's common thought after they start realizing their significant other might not be seeing as that significant is, "Maybe I can change his mind." This belief is exactly what the phrase is meant to create. It gives you just enough connection to believe the situation could evolve, which keeps you investing your time and emotions. What's really happening is that your brain becomes chemically attached to the hope of change. Every small sign of progress, a nice date, a sweet message, a hint of affection, triggers a dopamine release, making you associate him with pleasure, even if the relationship itself is unfulfilling. This turns your focus away from what he's giving and toward what you hope he might give. Meanwhile, he benefits from the best parts of a relationship: your intimacy, your loyalty, your attention, without having to offer certainty or stability. It's not an accident. It's the design of the dynamic. And once that cycle is in place, it rarely stops at one phrase. A man who relies on this kind of manipulation often has a whole set of lines ready, each one timed to pull you back in the moment you start to drift away. They can all sound harmless or even flattering, yet underneath they work toward the same goal, keeping you emotionally invested while he avoids giving you the clarity you deserve. Here are more other common phrases with hidden intent. You're different from other girls. At first, this sounds like a compliment, but in manipulation, it's an idealization tactic. It makes you want to live up to a special image he's created, which often keeps you working for his approval. Let's not label this yet. This is avoidance dressed up as freedom. It sounds progressive, like you're both going with the flow, yet it's really a way of keeping things vague so he's not accountable. You're overthinking it. This is a softer form of gaslighting. It makes you question your instincts, framing your reasonable concerns as unnecessary drama. By doing this, he trains you to doubt yourself and rely more on his version of events. Each of these phrases works because they combine a pull toward him with a push away from your own clarity. They plant doubt and attachment at the same time. And once you see that pattern for what it is, the next step is figuring out how to stop it before it pulls you in again. That's where your own boundaries become the turning point. So, how to flip the power instantly? The most effective way to break this cycle is to make your own position clear and unshakable. Instead of playing along with the undefined terms, set what's called a mirror boundary, reflecting your own standards back into the conversation. You can say something as simple as, "I'm looking for something intentional. If that's not you, it's okay." This doesn't invite debate or argument. It sets the expectation and lets him decide if he wants to meet it. You're not chasing, you're choosing. Psychology shows that clarity disrupts manipulation immediately. When the terms are no longer vague, the manipulator loses the ability to keep you hooked with uncertainty. You'll either see a shift in his behavior toward commitment or a quick disappearance, both of which give you the answer you need. When you do this, you remove the gray area he's been hiding in. Suddenly, there's no room for half promises or vague words. He either meets your clarity or he walks away. And that reaction tells you everything you need to know. Which brings us to the part that's hard to hear, but necessary to understand. And that is the brutal truth. If a man wanted you fully, he would speak with certainty, not confusion. This isn't about being perfect or saying all the right things. It's about whether his words align with real intent. Unclear language is rarely an accident. In the context of dating, it's often a strategy to keep the benefits without the responsibility. And when you understand this, you stop wasting your time hoping for change and start listening to what's really being said. If you have made it this far, comment down below with the word 100% to confirm that you have received the knowledge from this video. For more interesting topics, make sure you watch the recommended video that you see on the screen right now. Thanks for watching.